Hey, what's up, YouTube? So today is a little different. I'm in the car driving to work, and I figured let's start off today by telling a story about where and when it all started for me. So cars, been around cars forever. My dad owns a body shop, mechanical shop. I grew up sweeping the floor and just trying to make a buck whenever I could, just to, feed that itch to buy something. I've always been buying and selling and trading and just anything I can get my hands on. So my first car was a 1997 Honda Civic LX sedan. So if you're not familiar with that, they are basically a family car. It's a four-door Honda Civic, 97 body style, so it's a smaller body style, and it had this gray, weird cloth interior. It was automatic. But the catch was, it was totaled. It was smashed. One of my dad's customers ran it into a telephone pole, and I decided I was going to buy it from him. So I bought it from him, and spent the next few years, because I was 15 at the time, fixing it up and getting it able to be driven for when I got my permit and ultimately my driver's license for my first car. Now this Honda Civic, I mean, it was like no other. It was a cool car, but it was like a cat. It had like 9 lives. You couldn't kill this thing. So not only did I buy this thing after it had been totaled and ran into a pole, and resurrected it from there and made it into what this awesome car that I had as my first car was, but it blew a motor. Not only once, it blew a motor 3 times. So I blew the original motor in it, coming down a highway, coming back from college. And if you're in New Jersey, I was coming down Route 55. I was almost to the end, getting on 347, and this thing just grenaded itself. It blew up. I blew oil all over the road, and I ended up sleeping on the side of the road because I couldn't have anybody come get me at the time. My dad ended up towing me the next morning and saved the day, but that was the first motor. And then the second motor that we got from an aftermarket car motor company that my dad had contacts with, put that in, and it went bad. That was the second one. I don't know what happened to it. Just, it wasn't working properly. So we took that back out, and we got into the third motor. And the third motor lasted for a while, and then I blew a ring, and it was burning oil. And we put the last motor in it that ended up ultimately being sold with the car, but lasted me and drove back and forth to school as much as I could until I ultimately sold it. I don't know where that car ended up or who has it to this day, but at the time I sold it to a young teenage girl who was just getting her driver's license, and her dad thought it was a cool car, so they ended up buying it from me. But it's one of those cars that the sentimental aspect of it, and the fact that I did it with my dad and that we built it together, that'll always have a special place in my heart and will forever live on. If I can dig up photos of this car when it was totaled, I will definitely have to post them for you guys to see. But I mean, it was hit pretty hard in the front end, passenger side front end. Had to replace all the suspension on that side, pull the frame, the subframe, I mean, with my dad's frame machine, pull the rad support out, and then we basically got to rebuilding it and ultimately turned it into a really cool first car for me. So like I said, this car was like a cat with 9 lives, but ultimately, as far as I know, it was still on the road and enjoyed much after I sold it. So if you happen to see these photos and end up knowing where it is or have an idea what happened to it, drop it in the comments below. Let me know. I've always wondered if it ended up blowing up again or ended up living out its life until it was sold to somebody else. But let's see. So over the years, I spent time putting a body kit on it. At the time, that was the cool thing to do. So I molded this body kit and put wheels on it and put lowering springs on it and an exhaust. The exhaust was from Magnaflow. And then got it tinted out, put a stereo in it, and it was just a cool car. Well, time went on and I got tired of the car the way it looked, so I convinced my dad to help me sand it down, and we painted it candy apple red, and this thing just popped. It was beautiful. It was my first car, and I kept that car for years. I didn't want to sell it. I had sentimental attachment to the car. I couldn't get the value out of it that I had in it. I had probably dumped like 16 grand, including the car price, into it at the time. And I'm talking like, this is like 2008, so it was not a new car at the time, and but it was the coolest car to me on the road. So that's where it all started. I drove that car until I was in college, and then ended up selling it and losing so much money on that car. I ended up selling it for like $3,500. So the sentimental part of that car was lost, and I ended up basically not making anything out of it. But I got a new car in the end. But that's where it all began for me, on this 97 Honda Civic sedan. And I mean, I just love that car, and I did at the time, and I drove it like it was gold. But I'll put some photos in the story here so you guys can see what I'm talking about and see that color and just what it looked like. But that was the car that started it all for my car passion, I'd say. There was a couple things before that, like dirt bikes and quads and go-karts and a moped that I'll talk about in another story. But for now, I figured I'd start the day off with a little story about what got me hooked on cars. Not only just my dad being around the body shop with him, but that Honda Civic. So if you have a story like that, drop it in the comments. Tell me what your first car was. Like always, like, subscribe, hit that bell at the bottom so you know that I'm posting another video. And as always, stay safe, stay active, get out there, do something you love, and I'll catch you guys